She doesn't even work. Can you believe that? I pay for everything. The car, the house, even her little Starbucks habit. Brandon raised his glass. The whole table laughed. Hunter Caldwell, his boss, slapped the table. Madison, Hunter's wife, threw her head back like he had just told the funniest joke of the year. I laughed too, quiet, polite, the way a wife is supposed to laugh when her husband insults her in a restaurant in front of his boss. My phone vibrated in my purse. I knew it was Patricia before I looked. No one else would call me at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. I excused myself, walked past the hostess, past the kitchen, past a waiter carrying 2 plates of branzino, stepped onto the sidewalk on Congress Avenue. Camilla. The IRS flagged your return. Her voice was tight. Your gross income this year crossed $1.8 million. They want a full audit trail, every transfer, every property, every LLC filing. I need you in my office at 8 tomorrow morning. A bus passed. The cicadas screamed in the trees. I closed my eyes. $1.8 million. Camilla, are you there? I'm here. Does your husband know any of this? I looked back through the restaurant window. Brandon was telling another story. His mouth was moving. Madison was nodding like he was a prophet. No, I said. He doesn't know a single thing. Are you ready for him to find out? I watched my husband of 18 years laugh at his own joke. The same man who, a moment ago, told a room full of strangers that I did not even work. Patricia, I said. I have been ready for 9 years. I walked back inside, sat down, smiled at Brandon, picked up my fork. He winked at me. Sweetheart, were you on the phone with the church ladies again? I cut into my chicken. Something like that. Some men measure their wife by what she spends. They forget to ask what she earns. This is the story of how my husband sold me as a joke for 18 years, and how the joke ended at a tax office in downtown Austin, with a number he never imagined I could earn. If this story is grabbing you already, do me a small favor. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let me take you back to where it started. My name is Camila Vasquez Reyes. I am 44 years old. I was born in McAllen, Texas, in a house where my grandmother Sofía kept her recipes in a brown leather notebook and her gold inside an old Quaker oats box on top of the refrigerator. She had crossed the border in 1972 with a baby on her hip and a suitcase full of dried herbs. She cleaned houses in McAllen for 32 years. Every Friday, she came home with cash, walked straight to the Quaker oats box, and added a small gold coin to it. She never told anyone, not even her own daughter, my mother. When I was 11 years old, my grandmother sat me down at the kitchen table, opened the brown notebook, and said in Spanish, Mia, the men in this family will spend money like water. Listen to me. A woman who saves in silence builds something no man can take from her. Promise me. I promised. She died in 2017. She was 83. At the funeral, my mother got the recipe notebook. My uncle got her old car. My aunt got the house in McAllen. I got an envelope. Inside the envelope was a small note that said, Quaker oats, kitchen, top shelf, and a Bible verse from Proverbs. That night, I drove to McAllen alone. I climbed onto the kitchen counter. I opened the box. There were 87 gold coins. I sat on the kitchen floor and I cried. Not because I was rich, because for the first time in my life, I understood what my grandmother had been teaching me with every Friday and every coin and every silence at that kitchen table. I drove back to Austin the next morning. I did not tell Brandon. I did not tell my mother. I did not tell anyone. I sold a handful of coins to a precious metals dealer in San Antonio. $50,000 in cash in a manila envelope in the trunk of my Honda Civic. The next Monday, I walked into a real estate office in East Austin. East Austin in 2017 was not what East Austin is today. Back then, it was the part of the city that white people locked their car doors when they drove through. Brandon had told me, in that tone he used for everything, that no one with sense would buy a house east of Interstate 35. I bought a house east of Interstate 35. It was a small 2-bedroom on East Cesar Chavez Street. $89,000. I paid $40,000 cash, financed the rest under an LLC I had filed 2 months earlier, called Sofía Holdings. I signed every paper alone. I drove home that afternoon, made Brandon his favorite enchiladas verdes, smiled when he came through the door, and listened while he complained about his sales numbers. He never asked where I had been that day. He never asked anything. That was the first thing I learned about being invisible. If a man stops asking, a woman can build a kingdom in his blind spot. The first house in East Austin rented in 3 weeks. A young couple from Dallas working at a tech company downtown. $2,200 a month. After the mortgage, I had $840 in pure profit every single month. I opened a separate bank account at a credit union Brandon had never heard of. I paid the deposit slip in cash. By 2018, I had bought my second house. A small bungalow in Montopolis, on a street that had 3 abandoned lots and 1 taqueria. I paid $62,000 for it, renovated it for $15,000, rented it for $1,900 a month. Within the first weekend, it went on the short-term rental market. By 2019, I had 4 houses. That was also the year Brandon decided we needed a real house. Something to show his clients that he had arrived. He found a 4-bedroom in Westlake Hills, the kind of zip code where the lawns are watered every morning by men named Jorge, and the wives call themselves homemakers with the same emphasis a doctor uses for surgeon. The price tag was $890,000. Brandon could not afford it. His salary at the time was $140,000 a year as a regional sales manager for a kitchen equipment supplier. The bank told him no. I bought the house through Sofía Holdings. I had Patricia structure it as a long-term lease back to me. On paper, Brandon and I lived there as tenants of an LLC that he believed was owned by some investor in Mexico that you helped my grandma's lawyer find. That is the exact lie I told him. He nodded once. He never asked again. He moved his suits in on a Sunday. He stood in the foyer in his polo shirt and his expensive watch and said to me, "See, baby? This is what real men provide. Be grateful." I said thank you. I always said thank you. By 2020, I had 7 houses. By 2021, I had 9. Brandon's humiliation grew with my portfolio. At Thanksgiving that year, in front of his sister and her husband, he announced, "Camilla does not work. She is the smart kind of lazy. She has it figured out. Find a man who pays for everything and just exist." Everyone laughed. His sister laughed the loudest. I laughed too, because in that house, in that moment, the only weapon I had was my own face. That same December, I bought house number 10 in South Lamar. Every Sunday, Brandon gave me $150 in cash. He called it my weekly allowance. He liked to fold the bills slowly, count them out loud, and hand them to me with 2 fingers, the way you tip a valet. "Don't spend it all at Starbucks, sweetheart." I always took the bills. I always smiled. I always said thank you. Then I went to the credit union on Monday morning, deposited 2 checks for $32,000 and $14,000 from 2 of my Airbnb rentals, and bought groceries with my own money on Tuesday. I bought myself a brown leather notebook from a stationery store on Lamar Boulevard, the same kind my grandmother had used for her recipes. I kept it in the bottom drawer of my dresser. By the end of 2023, I had filled 41 pages. Each page listed a property: the address, the mortgage, the monthly rent, the repairs, the tenants, the cleaning crew, the taxes, the insurance. Once, Brandon found the notebook on my bedside table. He opened it, saw a list of numbers and addresses. He laughed. "What is this? Your grocery list?" I took the notebook back from him gently. "Something like that." He never asked again. By 2025, I had 12 properties across Austin, a duplex in East Riverside, 2 short-term rentals near the University of Texas campus that printed money every football weekend, a bungalow in Cherrywood, a condo in the Domain that rented to a software executive for $4,800 a month. My grandmother's 87 coins had become an empire of brick and stucco and careful, careful silence. And every Sunday, Brandon kept handing me my $150. And every Sunday, I kept saying thank you, which brings me back to the restaurant on Congress Avenue. It was the second Tuesday of October, 2025. The night Hunter Caldwell, Brandon's regional vice president, took us out for what he called a thank you dinner. Hunter had just promoted Brandon to senior territory lead. The promotion came with a raise of $22,000 a year before tax. That same month, my 12 properties had cleared $26,000 in net profit, after fees, after cleaning, after taxes. The waiter brought a second bottle of Cabernet. Hunter raised his glass. To Brandon, the hardest working man at this table. Madison Caldwell, petite, blonde, wearing a Cartier bracelet that cost more than 2 months of my Cherrywood rental, turned to me and tilted her head. So Camilla, what is it that you do all day? I mean, with Brandon working so hard, you must have so much free time. Brandon answered for me. He always answered for me. Nothing. That is what is so cute about her. She gardens, she bakes, she cleans. The simple life. He took a sip of wine. My wife is from a small town near the border. She was raised differently. She is happy with very little. It is the Mexican way. They are grateful people. Madison giggled. That is so sweet. Hunter clapped Brandon on the shoulder. Brandon, you are blessed. Most women now want everything. Yours just wants you. Cheers to that. I picked up my water glass. My hand did not shake. I thought about my grandmother on the kitchen floor in McAllen, about the 87 coins, about the brown notebook in the dresser, about the 12 houses, about the $1.8 million Patricia had just whispered through my phone. I thought about saying it, right there, with the candlelight and the Cabernet and Madison Caldwell's stupid bracelet. I did not say it, because my grandmother had also taught me this. When a woman has been silent for 9 years, she does not break the silence in a restaurant. She breaks it in a courtroom, or a tax office, or a deed recording desk at the county clerk's office. I just smiled. Thank you, Hunter. Brandon leaned back, satisfied. He squeezed Madison's hand across the table the way he used to squeeze mine 18 years ago, when he still pretended I was a person. That was the moment my phone vibrated. That was the moment Patricia called. That was the moment my 18-year silence got a closing date. Patricia Mendoza's office was on the 7th floor of a glass building on West 6th Street. I arrived at 7:45 the next morning. She was already there, 2 coffees on her desk, a pile of folders 3 inches thick, and her glasses pushed to the top of her head. She had been my accountant for 8 years. She was the only person in the world, besides my grandmother in heaven, who knew the full picture. Sit down, Camilla. I sat. She turned her monitor toward me. This is your portfolio as of last Friday. The screen showed a spreadsheet, 12 properties, each with a market value, a debt balance, an annual gross income, and a net cash flow. The total at the bottom was highlighted in green. Net worth, $4,200,000. Annual gross rental income, $840,000. Annual net income, after debt service and expenses, $312,000. I stared at the numbers. I had known the pieces. I had not known the picture. Camilla. Patricia took her glasses off completely. I have been a CPA for 26 years. I have 140 active clients. You are my biggest. By a margin you would not believe. My throat was dry, and no one in your life knows. I shook my head. Not your husband? No. Not your mother? No. Not your sisters? No. She closed the folder. She folded her hands on the desk. Camilla, I need to ask you something I have wanted to ask for 2 years. Are you safe? The cinnamon tea my grandmother used to make rose up in my throat, the one with the cloves, the one she said was strong enough to fight any man. I had not made that tea in years. I made it that morning before I drove to Patricia's office. I drank it slow, in a styrofoam cup, in my parked car on West 6th Street. I am safe, I said. Are you happy? No. Do you want to leave him? I looked out the window. Austin was waking up. The traffic on Mopac was starting. The runners were on Lady Bird Lake, a morning like any other. Patricia, I said, I have been planning the morning I leave him for 9 years. She nodded slowly. Then she pulled a single sheet of paper out of her drawer and slid it across the desk. I have been waiting for that answer. It was an invitation. The Latina Investors Network of Texas, their annual conference, 300 women, Houston. The keynote speaker slot was open. They had been asking Patricia for 2 years if she could find a Latina with a portfolio above $3 million who would speak about building wealth in silence. Patricia had already given them my name. She had not told me. She had been waiting for the right week. Camilla, they want you. The keynote is November 14th, 2025. Will you do it? I picked up the invitation. I thought about every Sunday Brandon had handed me $150 and called it generosity. I thought about my grandmother on the kitchen floor in McAllen, telling an 11-year-old girl about Quaker oats boxes and silent women and kingdoms in blind spots. I thought about the brown notebook. Yes, I said. I will do it. Patricia smiled for the first time since I walked in. Camila, you are about to stop being invisible. I held the invitation in my hand. No, Patricia, I am about to choose who gets to see me. The conference was at the Hilton Americas in Houston. 300 Latina women in the ballroom. Doctors, real estate agents, restaurant owners, 2 state representatives, a woman from El Paso who had built a chain of pediatric clinics from a single rented office, a grandmother from Brownsville who had turned a tortilla cart into a regional manufacturer. I wore my grandmother's gold earrings, real gold, the same coins I had not sold. Patricia had taken 3 of them to a jeweler in San Antonio 2 months earlier and had them set into earrings shaped like small suns. My grandmother was in the room with me that morning. I felt her in my ears. Brandon thought I was at a women's church retreat in Fredericksburg. He had said, when he kissed me on the cheek that Friday morning, "Pray for my sales numbers, sweetheart." I had said, "I will pray for what you deserve, Brandon." He smiled. He missed it. He always missed it. When the announcer called my name, I walked onto that stage in a navy blue dress I had bought myself, with money I had earned myself, in shoes I had picked out myself. No one had told me I looked almost expensive. No one had told me to be grateful. I gripped the lectern. I looked at 300 women. I took a breath. My name is Camila Vasquez Reyes. I am 44 years old. I have been married for 18 years to a man who told a table full of his friends 6 weeks ago that I do not work. I let him say it. Because for 9 years, I have been building, in silence, a portfolio of 12 properties in Austin, Texas, worth $4,200,000. The ballroom went silent. The kind of silence that comes before a wave breaks. My grandmother crossed the border in 1972. She cleaned houses for 32 years. She saved gold coins in a Quaker oats box on top of her refrigerator. When I was 11 years old, she told me, a woman who saves in silence builds something no man can take from her. I paused. This morning, I am breaking the silence, not because the building is finished, because there are women in this room with grandmothers like mine. And I want every single one of you to know your kingdom is allowed to exist. Standing ovation. 300 women, on their feet, some of them crying. The grandmother from Brownsville crying loudest of all. I did not cry. I had cried 9 years earlier, on the kitchen floor in McAllen. That was enough. After the keynote, a line formed in the hallway. 47 women. Each one wanted my number. Each one had questions about LLCs, about credit unions. about how to have a bank account a husband could not see, about how to file an LLC without him noticing the mail. A woman named Yolanda Vega came up last. She was 61. She owned a small accounting firm in San Antonio. She handed me a business card. "Camilla, you need to teach this. Not as a single keynote, as a course. I will help you build it. 2 months from now, online, Spanish and English. I have the platform. You have the story." I called Patricia from the hotel lobby. "Patricia, I think I am about to have a second business." She laughed. "I have been waiting for you to figure that out for 4 years. The course launched in January 2026. We called it The Quiet Empire, How to Build Wealth Without Asking Permission." Yolanda built the platform. I recorded 28 modules. Patricia was the financial expert in 14 of them. The first cohort opened with a goal of 300 students. We hit 1,200 students in the first month. By March, we had 1,700. By April, 2,190. Mexican-American women from 41 states, 3 of them in Canada, 1 in Spain. 2 of them, I later found out, were married to men who had once worked under Brandon. That detail, I will admit, made me smile. But Brandon still did not know. He still gave me $150 on Sundays. He still called me grateful. He still believed. And that brings us to the part of the story I have been waiting to tell you. The part where the silence ended. On the second Saturday of April, 2026, Brandon came home from the office at 5:45 in the afternoon. He walked through the front door of the 4-bedroom house in Westlake Hills with his briefcase in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. There was a manila envelope on the kitchen island, cream-colored. Embossed in the corner with 3 letters in dark blue, SHL, Sofía Holdings, LLC. He picked it up. He opened it. It was a 30-day notice to vacate the premises, signed by the property manager, stamped by the Travis County Clerk's office, filed that morning at 9:17. The notice gave him until May 14, 2026, to remove all personal belongings and surrender the keys to the residence at the listed address in Westlake Hills. He read it twice, then a third time. Then he laughed, the same laugh from the restaurant, the big, confident laugh. "This is a joke. Camilla? Sweetheart? Whose joke is this?" I came into the kitchen. I was already dressed. White blouse, jeans, the gold sun earrings. My grandmother's brown notebook in my hand. He waved the paper at me. "Some idiot at the rental company sent us an eviction notice. Did you see this? I am going to call them right now and laugh in their face." I sat down at the kitchen island. I opened the brown notebook to the page that said, "Westlake Hills, 312 Hidden Glen Drive. Acquired June 3, 2019. LLC, Sofía Holdings. Owner of LLC, Camila Vasquez Reyes. Sole member." I turned the notebook around so he could read it. "Brandon, call them. The number on the bottom of the notice is Patricia Mendoza's office. She is the property manager." He called. I watched him call. Patricia answered on the second ring. "Sofía Holdings. This is Patricia." I heard him say, "Patricia, this is Brandon Reyes. Someone at your office has sent me an eviction notice for my own house. I want to know who is behind this." I heard Patricia answer, calm and clean. "Mr. Reyes, the owner of the property has chosen not to renew your residency. You have 30 days to vacate. The owner has been generous. Most landlords would have given you 14. He pressed the phone harder against his ear. "Patricia, who is the owner?" There was a small pause. Then her voice, softer. "Your wife, Mr. Reyes. Camila has owned that house since June of 2019. She bought it with her grandmother's gold. You have been her tenant for 7 years." He hung up. He stood in the kitchen with his briefcase still in his hand, the bottle of wine still in the other, the eviction notice on the floor between his shoes. I did not raise my voice. I did not stand up. I did not need to. "Brandon, there is a duffel bag on the bed upstairs. I packed your suits, your watch, and your toothbrush. The rest is yours to take in the next 30 days. The garage code will change tomorrow at noon. He stared at me. You did this behind my back for 7 years, for 9 years, Brandon. What are you going to tell people? I almost laughed. Brandon, nobody is going to ask. Nobody knows you. They know your wife, the one you said did not work. He set the wine bottle down on the counter. Slow, like he was trying to find a way to make his hands stop shaking. Camilla, please, we can talk about this. I am your husband. We have 18 years. We have 18 years of you handing me $150 and calling it generosity. We have 18 years of you telling people I am the smart kind of lazy. We have 18 years of you answering for me at every dinner table I sat at next to you. I picked up the brown notebook. I picked up my keys. Brandon. The kitchen island you are leaning on, I bought it. The countertops you spilled wine on last Christmas, I paid for them. The roof you sleep under, I own it. The bed in the guest room where you snore on Sundays, I picked out the mattress with my Sofía Holdings credit card. There is not 1 square foot of this house that you have ever paid for. Not one. He opened his mouth. He closed it. He opened it again. He had nothing to say. I walked toward the front door. He shouted after me, Camilla, where do you think you are going? I turned at the door. To lunch. With Patricia. I am buying. I closed the door behind me. The Texas sun was setting over the hill country. The bluebonnets were past their season. The cicadas were starting again, the way they always do in Austin in April. I drove down the hill in my own car, paid with my own money, on a road that led to a city full of houses I owned and a life he had never seen. Some men measure their wife by what she spends. He measured me by what I spent. He never thought to ask what I owned. If this story touched you, leave a comment telling me what you felt. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. See you next time.